Going on, everybody? It's JB here, and it's the first in a new series, which we're calling JB's Weekend Football Inquest, where we chew over the big stories that have made the Premier League headlines. At the time of recording, Man City looked like strolling towards a big lead in the Premier League title race, to the extent where they're going to be almost unstoppable. They're beating Chelsea at the moment. Ronaldo Silva scored, but subjects we want to touch on: Burnley's fantastic victory over Everton, three managers under massive pressure, Pardew with West Brom, Allardyce at Everton, and more bigger than them two combined, Arsene Wenger. Is it time for Wenger to be sacked, or should he be moved out with grace? I'll say my piece in the next 15 minutes for your viewing pleasure, on Facebook and YouTube. So stick with me. So there's only one place to start, that's today, I'm afraid. And Arsenal, not just beaten today, humiliated away at Brighton 2-1. Now, they did play well for some considerable amount of the second half, but Brighton were just too tactically astute and tactically sound. And Wenger's boys were just off the pace. And you've got players there that are on 300 grand a week. Mesut Ozil, 300 grand a week, spent most of the first 42 minutes doing that ball. Aubameyang looked like I said in commentary, I did the match on YouTube, he looked like a lost little schoolboy wanting his mum. He just didn't want to step up to the plate and fight. There was only Jack Wilshere, I think, out of the whole team that actually wanted to take the fight to Brighton for a lot of the game. Brighton could have been 4 or 5 up ultimately in the first 42 minutes, and I'm not exaggerating it. I watched the game, and God's honest truth, I mean, the amount of free headers they had inside the Arsenal penalty area was astronomical. And then they were presented with 2 goals. The first comes from a corner. Gross whips it in, plenty of curl on it. Arsenal have got enough numbers back to deal with it. Pedicek should stay at home for me. He comes to a ball that isn't really his to take. He drops it, bashes into a forest of players, Arsenal players out the game. Lewis Dunk, untracked, unmarked, fires the ball into the back of the net from 6 yards out. And that was the easiest goal he'll ever have in his entire footballing career. Second goal, schoolboy defending. Kashami gives the ball away, then Brighton build down the right. Gross whips in a magnificent cross, but then the 2 centre-backs, Mustafi and Kashami, are all over the place. And Glenmurray just sneaks in untracked between the two of them. Oh, thank you very much. Gets a free header in, nods it down, check. It's within savable distance for him. It's only 6 yards out the header, so check has still got half a chance of saving it. And he's literally there. He's got his hands behind it, and he slips through his fingers and in. It was an horrendous goal. It's a silly goal for Czech to concede. He held his hands up in a press conference afterwards, but that's not the point. He shouldn't have made those mistakes. And Arsenal were just toothless for 42 minutes. They came back into it. Aubameyang scored to make it 2-1. Flicking as Xhaka knocked the ball dangerously across the 6-yard box of Brighton, and obviously Brian almost saved it. But and then Koscielny should have scored when he hit the post with a free header. Good crossing from the left, and Koscielny should have scored. Should have been 2-2, but let's give Brighton their fair dues. Before we go on to Wenger and his future, let's give Brighton their fair dues. Chris Hughton was brilliant. They did all the basics right. Whereas Arsenal were doing all the basics wrong, Brighton had it spot on every time. They won every first ball, every second ball. They did the lot. They worked hard. They played well. I thought the right-hand channel, I thought both left and right flanks were being properly utilised. Glenmurray was getting terrific service. He's got 11 goals. He's 34 years old. He's the oldest swinger in town as far as goals are concerned for him. He scored more than Alvaro and Morata at Chelsea. That's how good he's been this year for them. And as a result, and fair credit to Brighton, they're now in the top 10, dislodging Everton, who I'll touch on in about 5 minutes. But what about Arsene Wenger? Now, listen, 22 more years ago, he came into the club and breathed new life into the game we know today. Fitness regimes, health, eating the right foods, dietary habits. He had all the sports scientists at his fingertips. He was the first man at an English football club to use all that. It was revolutionary. There's no doubt about it. In the first 8 years, he was way ahead of his time. He won 2 doubles, 3 league titles, and several FA Cups. Okay, he's won a few FA Cups recently, but in league football, he's just, his team are just, and especially this season, okay, they've got to the Carabao final, but they were outplayed and humiliated, embarrassed. You've got players like Mesut Ozil on 300 grand a week. I mean, people north of Birmingham will do well to earn that in 5 years, let alone a week. I don't think he's worth 300 grand of anyone's money a week. It's just, I think what the Arsenal players and Arsene Wenger should do after these poor performances, they should find themselves wages and send the wages to a children's charity or a cancer charity. Because if I was somebody earning that amount of money and I wasn't putting a shift in my day job or on a football field or whatever, I'd end up giving my wage to charity. I mean, these or give it to grassroots football. They need the money down there. You get more passion in a grassroots game than you do with the Arsenal team. That's how bad it is. And Wenger, he's a tactical dinosaur. All the managers have taken over him. The likes of Guardiola, the likes of Klopp, the likes of Mourinho. All these type of managers in this league right now. Even Dyche is tactically more sounder than Wenger. And he's English. And he's done one, and yet Arsene Wenger is just an old man. He looks a pale shadow of his former self. He's in denial. I don't know what the situation is with the board. Well, if I was Arsenal chairman, I would say that Wenger's position at the moment is certainly untenable right now. And I'm certainly with the majority of the Arsenal fans that Wenger should be sacked for the good of the football club, because this man is been a dead man walking for quite some time now. No league title since 2004. And fair play, he's the most successful most successful manager in the history of the FA Cup. That's a great accolade, but they were supposed to go to the Emirates Stadium 10 years ago to compete for big European prizes like the Champions League and things like that, compete for the big honours. Nowhere near. They've had one Champions League final in 22 years under Wenger, 2006. That's all they've had. They've just banked all their eggs on finishing 4th every other year, and it's just not good enough. And then, they had a great transfer window in January. Now, on the face of it, it looks like they had a good transfer window, but that was just papering over the cracks, because Wenger, in attempting to strengthen his squad, forgot to identify the one big thing that Arsenal needed. They needed a new central defensive partnership and a goalkeeper. But Staffy and Koscielny look out of sorts. So too does Czech. So a lot for Arsenal. And, the players are good enough. I think the manager's out of his depth, and I think he should go at the end of the season. Arsenal are just totally out of their depth. But well done to Brighton. Top 10 for them. I think they'll be safe now. Right, to yesterday's action. We start at Turf Moor, where Burnley, yay! Finally got a win. 2-1. Covered that on the YouTube channel, delayed. A great performance. Chris Wood coming off the bench to score the winning goal. Sam Allardyce was booed off by the Everton fans. After that initial honeymoon period, it hasn't worked out for Everton. Sam Allardyce is a certain type of manager who hoof it up the field. I don't think that's what the Everton fans want at the moment. He was smirking after the defeat yesterday. Is that an attitude that should be of an Everton manager? Well, I'm sure some Everton fans will probably enlighten me on that one, but you could tell what they thought about it. But let's touch on Burnley. I'll tell you what, Sean Dyche, throughout the last 11 games, has kept a positive spin on things. I have criticised him, and I've not been afraid to voice my opinions on him tactically, because tactically he got it wrong against Southampton last week. Okay, we've done some dodgy refereeing, but tactically Dyche should have played some substitutes and we would have won that game. This time, yesterday, he got it right. We were 1 down, and we were actually, in fairness, we shouldn't have been losing. They scored against the run of play. They did look like we thought Walcott was their best player. But we were creating chances, and you know what? No one was panicking. Nobody was panicking. And then Dyche read, for once, a tactical masterstroke. He'd gone 2 up front. He took Jack Henrick off and put Chris Wood on. And within 10 minutes, it worked straight away. Lovely ball from Melton, finished off superbly by Ashley Barnes. Great goal. I have been one of Ashley Barnes' biggest critics recently, but he proved me wrong there. Great goal from him, 1-1. And then we were pushing and pushing for the winning goal. Gylfi Sigurdsson had a chance 2 minutes before the winner, Burnley's winner, to score, and he fluffed his lines. He actually had a good game, the Arsenal man. But then we get a corner after some great trickery from Wenner. And from that corner, Johan Berg Gudmundsson whips in a delicious cross, bisects everyone else, and Chris Wood has got the wood on Michael Keane. He's got the leap. He didn't have to really leap. He just stood on his tiptoes, nodded it in from a yard out. Cue seemed to pandemonium. As for the red card, Ashley Williams, totally unprofessional. And he just lashed out at Barnes for, I can only assume, frustration because Everton were losing. But when you're on a field, yes, temperaments do run high, but it was an awful thing to do, and it's not allowed. It's unacceptable, and I think you'll get a 3-match ban for that, Williams, and that's just sort of put Everton's backs up a bit now. They're in the bottom half of the table. Allardyce is looking as if he's not the right fit for Everton. They've lost their captain for 3 games. Rooney didn't make much of a difference either, and really, it's not looking good for Everton. But Burnley, great result, 7th place, 40 points. We're staying up now, no problem at all. Maybe Europa League? We can dare to dream. We dared to dream before and we got there, so who knows. Finally, we've got 4 minutes to fill. West Bromwich Albion, what has gone wrong at that football club? The J-Rod issue aside, there's been a lot of problems. Chairman and chief executive sacked because of the poor run. That's not their fault. So I think that was a harsh decision by the owners, by the foreign owners there. Alan Pardew was brought in. I think the West Brom fans should have been careful what they wish for. Tony Pulis is a proven manager at Premier League level. He would have kept them up. They didn't have a particularly good start, I grant you, but I think they should have kept hold of him for another 5 or 6 games to see how the water would have lied after then, and then made the change. I think they pulled the panic button too soon on Pulis. They bought in Alan Pardew. Now, Pardew, to his fair dues, he's got, when he took over Crowell some 3 years ago, he got them to 10th in the league, and he did really well initially, and then it all went wrong. He's had a transfer window. He's had an opportunity to get players in. He got Sturridge in, but then he's got injured, and then it's all gone basically tits up for him. Then there was Taxigate when they went to Barcelona for a mid-season trip, and 4 prestige squad went pinching taxis in Barcelona, stealing taxis. Then there was the ballroom upheaval. Then there was that horrible FA Cup defeat to Southampton. And then they had a horrible result against Huddersfield where the fans have turned on the team and Pardew. And yesterday they needed to get a result against Watford, who are under resurgence now under new managers, under new management, and they had the stomach for it. And then they make a mistake. Allow Troy Deeney through to score a simple goal. I honestly think Pardew, he's had his tap. He's had opportunity now. He's had 3 months. It should have changed around. I think West Brom are a doomed team, and I do honestly think they'll go down. Stoke and Southampton, that was a difficult game. Liverpool are going well at the moment. Little mention for Jurgen Klopp's men. Mo Salah now, 2 more goals for him. Takes him level with Harry Kane at the top of the charts. Nice to see Son get on the score sheet a couple of times as Tottenham were too good for Huddersfield. And a special mention to Swansea City. What a performance by them. Carvajal in 3 months is a stark contrast to what Pardew has achieved in 3 months at West Brom. He's achieved far more. They were beaten at the Liberty Stadium since he took over. And they played some super football yesterday, Swansea, and thoroughly deserved their performance. As for West Ham, they're looking over their shoulders. It doesn't look good for them. And really, that's just about it, really. But needless to say, really, that Wenger's certainly a dead man walking. Pardew almost certainly is a dead man walking. And is Allardyce on board time at Everton? Those are the three crucial questions now as we bring the weekend football to a close. Man City are going clear. They're winning as things at time of recording. United play tomorrow, but that's purely academic. As far as United are concerned, the best they could hope for is second. But also Burnley, what a result for them. Great result, 2-1, and we'll be right back in there. And maybe, just maybe, if Arsenal blow up or implode, and we keep just chipping away at the points, we might even get into 6th place. You never know. But us Burnley fans, we do dare to dream. We dared to dream once, remember, back in 2009, and we won promotion. So who knows what might do. Let's dare to dream. But that's it for the first football inquest of the week, of the season. Plenty more like that from now to the end. Hope you enjoyed it. From me, JB, take care. Have a good weekend.